glad to have you with us today as we are here on Countdown to Restoration, counting down the days of the horrible Biden regime, that evil group of people trying to ruin the country with every breath they take, with every move they make. No, it's not my line, but it's not bad, is it? Who am I? Danny Thompson. Glad to have you with us as we go through everything we know about the thief in chief and all of the bad things he and his people are doing to us. The thief in chief, yeah. The thief in chief, yeah. All right, I'll go away. We don't have time for you today as we continue to go on. Did I tell you who I am? I'm Danny Thompson. Glad to have you with us. I think I did. As we move quickly along, we do say, where is that? None of my graphics are in the right place, people. Somebody's got to pay for that. Anyway, welcome to our show. How about that? We start with the obligatory poster of the Biden poster child, and just shows how, well, we'll let the kinks tell you how it is.
Girls will be boys and boys will be girls. It's a mixed up, muddled up, shook up world. Except for love. La 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 la. Well, I left home just a week before, and I'd never ever kissed a woman before. But all the stars took me by the hand, said, "You're gonna make you a man." Well, I'm not the world's most masculine man, but I know what I am in the bed. I'm a man, so it's Lord, Lord, Lord,
I'm telling you, that keyboard guy, that's close, isn't it? That is close. A younger version. I'm starting to worry about the kinks now. I don't know. But anyway, mixed up, messed up, jumbled up world it is. Dr. Rachel Levine, I would imagine soon to be Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services. What's wrong with the world? What do we have to go with that? To show those that more than Dr. Rachel Levine cannot be considered normal. LA Prep School graphic teaching students, fat, short, unattractive people are oppressed. Of course, I've never known any of that one day in my life. A few times people did holler well ashore on the beach, but that's a whole nother story. I didn't feel oppressed, just depressed. We don't want anybody to be oppressed. We don't want anybody to feel bad. But come on, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the edge of destruction. Bye, Doc. All right, what else do we have? Oh, yes, and if you want to know why all of this is happening, go to seculardems.org. Because the secular Democrats of America are leading us off that edge, off the precipice, over the cliff, into the deep end without a life preserver, up the creek without a paddle, to the world of abnormality. And with that comes, obviously, abortion on demand, because that's what they want. But in Arkansas, the governor signs near total abortion ban. Isn't that great? And we're going to read that. And this is from CNN, so you know it's true. Arkansas on Tuesday became the first state in 2021 to enact a near-total abortion ban, a bold step by abortion opponents seeking to renew challenges to the Supreme Court's landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling that legalized the procedure nationally. Which just... don't have time to get into all of that. What's the next one? Yes, the Arkansas Bill SB 6 bans providers from performing abortions except to save the life of a pregnant woman in a medical emergency and makes no exceptions for instances of rape, incest, or fetal anomalies. Those found to violate the law could face a fine of up to $100,000 and up to 10 years in prison. The governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchins, says he's going to sign it because he's pro-life, but also because it had such strong support, but he expects it will be shut down by the illegal courts. Which brings us to, speaking of illegal, some Uncle Joe time.
Come ride the little train that is rolling down the tracks to the junction. Forget about your cares, it is time to relax at the junction. Lots of curves, you bet, and even more when you get to the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
There's a little hotel called the Shady Rest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
It is run by Kate, come and be her guest at the junction.
Petticoat Junction.
And that's Uncle Joe, he's a moving kind of slow at the junction. Petticoat Junction.
All right. Uncle Joe was on the move yesterday. Yeah, went outside the house. Hey, before we show you that, though, let's show you this little ditty. Day 49, so it was yesterday. We're not the only ones keeping track of how long this has been. Half the nation worried Biden not physically and mentally up to the job. Yeah, it's a little late, people. There were 80 million of us that knew he wasn't physically and mentally up to the job, but that didn't count, did it? So this doesn't count. Yes, he was out. He was seeing a hardware store that will benefit from the Paycheck Protection Plan. And with them, they have a couple of organic gardening things. I mean, it's okay operation. They're in D.C., so they're very liberal. But at the end of it, he's just standing there looking as lost as he can be. Uncle Joe is just in the middle of them both because they can't get close because of COVID restrictions, and the press wants to ask questions because they have been told you can ask questions when he's out and about. When you're around him, you got to ask it 40 times. Well, we'll see what happens, and you've probably seen this, but it's more Chronicles of Uncle Joe. Oh, that's not nice to say that. It's Uncle Joe. How does that mean? If you ever watched Petticoat Junction, Uncle Joe was one of your favorite characters. Uncle, that's a nice term. Let's go, press. Let's get out of here, press. No asking questions right now. As the aide sneaks up in the back. What was he going to do? In case Biden started to answer a question, tackle him or something? Pull him away? And I realize presidents, a lot of times, they do not answer questions, but come on. But I know why he didn't answer the question. He's too focused. Here we go.
First, the president is deeply focused on the issue of expanding global vaccinations and manufacturing and delivery, which will all be critical to end the pandemic. But as we've also said, he's first and foremost focused on ensuring Americans have access to vaccines as soon as possible in this period of time.
So he is deeply focused on getting vaccines out to the world, which that was a question. You know, why don't we're ordering extras now. He is deeply focused on that, but he is also mainly focused on getting shots in the arms of Americans first. So this is the most focused person. He has 395 different priorities, and yet he's focused. He's focused on this. He's focused on that. He's focused on everything. This is his priority. That's his priority. I mean, no wonder the guy looks exhausted and confused all the time. He's got 30 different focuses or foci, or however you say it. I mean, do they realize how stupid they sound? He's focused. We can't do anything because his priority right now, the only thing we're working on is the American Rescue Plan. But then he's having all these other meetings, and then if you ask, oh no, he can't do that. He's focused on this. He's focused on everything. It's impossible. Oh, and this little piece. And this is not from Fox News. It's from the Free Beacon. Let's get it down so you can see the whole picture. Why must you be such an angry young man? Your future looks bright, bright to me. Unstable, non-genius Biden aides feared cranky candidates' epic tongue lashings. Yeah, you read the story, and you know, if you want to get the book, that's a nice picture of Biden, by the way. That's the way I'm going to think of him the rest of my life. Yeah, they're afraid of him. He just unloads on people, especially younger people. I mean, but even his more adult aides are afraid to disagree with him or point him in this direction. I know he's yelling at them over not being able to talk. If he's like this over small things, I mean, he's just mean. And he says it's his Irish temper, but you know what? First of all, that is stereotypical, and he needs to go to sensitivity training. But second of all, no, that's just being a bad person. Not like that. Come on. You know, a lot of people don't like Chevy Chase, who's very funny. You know why? Because he picks on someone whenever he's in a group and just zeroes in on them and just starts tearing them apart. He thinks it's funny, but the person getting it doesn't. And Biden, he's not even trying to be funny. You know, at least Chevy Chase later can say, oh, I'm sorry, the humor didn't work out. This man's just mean. But it's okay, because we are in the dark winter of Biden, Pelosi, Harris, and Schumer. Schumer, who is so evil they couldn't even fit him in on the poster. What else do we have for these dark days? Oh yeah, gonna give them their due. Shout it from the rooftops. 1.9 trillion COVID bill delivers stimulus and a political fight. The Republicans are going to be taking to the airways and saying how bad the bill is and that none of them voted for it. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen. This is happening. But you know what? This man who can't go to the border is going to travel around the country to let everybody know how great this is and how to access it. He is. Dr. Biden is. You always have to get professional when you say her name. Dr. Biden, the vice president and the first gentleman. Or second gentleman. Excuse me, I did that in rehearsal. Think you could write the script better, wouldn't you? The second gentleman, why can't he be called the first gentleman? President pretend Biden is not the first gentleman, he's the president pretend. There's not a first gentleman married to him. We're pretty sure Dr. Biden's all female, but we have no proof. Maybe. So Miss Harris's husband should be the first gentleman, but it's just, and who even knows what they are? I don't know what anybody is, who anybody is in this administration. It's just all sad to me. All right. I bet you didn't know this, a $60 billion surprise inside the COVID relief bill, tax hikes for some. Yeah, there's some tax hikes for corporations, even individuals, etc., etc. And why would they have to do that in the COVID bill? Because they were using the backwater way of budget reconciliation. And so there has to be limits of what they can spend off budget. And to be able to do that, they have to counterbalance it with tax. So 60 billion, 1.9 trillion sounds balanced to me. Yeah. Works for me. It's all just political fun and games up in Washington, D.C. But Today, Jen was aggravating me because the press conference was so late, which has made my whole day late. And then there was so much in it. We had a long production meeting, just ran over. Still don't know if we got everything we need in the show. But I thought she needed her own video piece. Whoa, got big there, didn't I? Isn't it time indeed? I just can't find the answers to the questions. Doesn't that sum her up perfectly? And he even has red hair, makeup and everything. Except I think that was just a rock and roll front. I don't think he's kin to Dr. Rachel Levine. Anyway, what does Jen have to say today? Where are we with this? Oh, yes. The question was asked about a delay in vaccine because everybody's supposed to be vaccinated or at least have the opportunity to be vaccinated by, sometime in May, and yet not enough vaccine available, which they told us. But the administration keeps doing what? Oh, yeah, lying.
And my last question on Johnson & Johnson, he is going to announce that they are trying to get another 100 million doses this afternoon, but the administration told governors yesterday on their weekly call that they should only expect to get 400,000 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine next week. That is far behind what the Johnson & Johnson contract with the federal government that they were supposed to have ready when it was authorized by the FDA. So is he going to confront the Johnson & Johnson executives he's meeting with today about why they are so far behind on production?
Well, as you know, Caitlin, he invoked the Defense Production Act in part because he wanted to, and our team, Jeff Zients and others, have been working closely with Johnson & Johnson and Merck, of course, to expedite the production of vaccines to ensure that they can be available on the timeline they've committed to. I will say that this 100 million that's being announced this afternoon is more for the second half of this year and we're not adding additional doses expected on that same timeline. But I'm certain they will be discussing, of course, the need to ensure that the deadlines are met and that we have the vaccines and the doses needed to get them in the arms of the American people.
Did you notice she didn't really answer the question? No, because she never does. She never does. You don't even know what she said there. You want to say, what does that have to do with all this? We're talking about this. And you know why it is, ladies and gentlemen?
I know I could cry. I just can't find the answer to the questions that keep going through my mind. Baby, in front of God.
Yep. She knows the answer. She just won't say because she'd lose her job. You can always tell a liar because they just go on and on when they don't have to. I do that because I'm a host of a show. I'm not, how could I be lying? I'm just playing video clips. Come on.
And you mentioned those CDC guidelines. Does the White House think it's a problem that when the CDC tells these migrant shelter facilities that they can be at full capacity if they are careful about COVID, many of them do, but when the CDC tells schools that they can open in person at full capacity, many of them don't?
Is there a school in particular that you have as an example that didn't do that?
Are most schools in this country at full capacity with in-person learning?
Is there a specific school, though, that is not following the CDC guidelines of implementing the mitigation steps so they can reopen?
I mean, the CDC is saying schools, you can be every school can be at full capacity.
With the CDC guidelines, just to be clear, because I think this is very important to be very clear and specific on, they gave 8 mitigation steps that schools can take to safely reopen. A number of schools have actually recently reopened. Schools in Washington, D.C., some have, schools in many districts across the country. But each school district needs to make the decision about whether they are able to take those mitigation steps. The president has also been clear, some of these school districts need additional funding. There's $160 billion in this package that he's going to sign into law later this week. The Secretary of Education will be quite focused on working with school districts to help them reopen. But more school districts are reopening. More kids are in classrooms every single day.
But since they are not all back, from an administration position or from your perspective, have the Border Patrol unions and the HHS unions been easier to work with than the teachers' unions?
I think that's a little bit of mixing different circumstances. I would say that...
It's children all in tight quarters. I mean, a classroom, but...
Not quite.
Not funny.
Not quite. I would...
No, it's not funny, is it? Because what happened is the Biden regime leaned on CDC because, CDC was not just sitting around one day. I was thinking about those poor kids down on the border. And we need to loosen up. Kids don't get COVID that much. We need to loosen up the requirements so we can get more of them into these tight places. 40% occupancy, it's just not good. But then you've got administrators, and of course they jump right on it. Why? Because they were ordered to by the regime. And of course the regime can't order schools to open all over. I think they probably could. You can make a national emergency for anything now. But, you understand his question. It's kids in tight quarters. It's worse down there. They're sleeping next to each other. They're around each other 24 hours a day. How come they can do it and schools can't? Because the unions don't want to. LA is reached an potential agreement with the teachers union, and it's not even for every day. It's just a partial opening during the week, and they won't even be in class every day. And if a teacher doesn't have to be there if he or she is not vaccinated, and they get to wait 6 weeks for the vaccination to take full effect. How are they going to open up this year? Most of the money in the American Rescue Plan is for next year. Not funny indeed, Jen. Not funny at all. Defense Secretary extends National Guard mission at U.S. Capitol through May. Well, you do know the Easter Bunny's coming to town. He may want to get on the Capitol grounds for something, so we need him there. Spring break, yeah, we got, spring breakers may want to go swing on the trees or something. Play sand volleyball in the grass, I don't know. Topless people don't bother them because, speaking of spring breakers, because we've seen a topless woman at the Supreme Court and they didn't make her cover up or go or anything. So that's not a problem there. So obviously just spring breakers doing shots on the lawn, I'm not sure. And also there is Cinco de Mayo, which, could be a big march on the Capitol. You never know. There is a tequila shortage. We you got to face these facts. And then there's Memorial Day. All those veterans going to rush. Send them home. Open up the Capitol. No, we can't do that. Breaking news. Libya's oil production could stabilize under new unity government. Anyway, oil prices move higher despite another major crude build, meaning we've got plenty of supply, but between the looking at everything opening up plus the restrictions that the Biden regime has placed on oil leasing on federal lands, plus something included in that order that most people don't know and probably don't understand, is the right-of-way for oil to ship through those lands, and pipelines go through those lands because they're drilling for oil and natural gas. And so it's really creating some problems, but there's still a supply glut. But Saudi Arabia is cutting back, and they're watching that. And, I just got a feeling, I could be wrong, but I think that the Biden regime, one of the conditions for them to keep working with Saudi Arabia is that they needed to cut back on production, because they want the price to go up, because they want us to move to electric cars. They want us to have high utility bills. They want your dream car gone. And they like high prices. So a lot of things going on. There shouldn't be. See, the article means there shouldn't be high prices, but there are. Plus, they sold about 21 million barrels of our strategic stockpile of crude oil, and it doesn't even need to be out there. Why are they doing that? To get the money. Prices are going up, but they're just contributing to the stockpile. It's just, so messed up. This is just we need help. Hackers breached thousands of security cameras exposing Tesla jails and hospitals. I mean, factories, hospitals, jails, and all kinds of things. I mean, we need some help on some security, something. Well, I mean, somebody needs to come up with better security for all of our, disconnect from the grid or something. I don't know. But then it makes me think of the movie Net, where the company that offered the security was the one causing all the problems. We need Sandra Bullock. She should be chief in charge of this. She has the experience. Anyway, so we move along. Senate confirms Merrick Garland as U.S. Attorney General. There he is. And I know he has a reputation of having a great legal mind, but if you listened to or read any of the transcripts from his confirmation process, you're not seeing it, are you? You're not reading it. You're not seeing it. I think he and Uncle Joe get together and play checkers. That's what I'm thinking, because that's about where it is. And if you did not like Attorney General William Barr, you will love this man. And if you like Barr, sorry, he's here now. He's here now. And he ain't going to do nothing good, because he's just another puppet. And they talk about a independent Department of Justice. And since we're on the topic of Department of Justice, let's talk about this nominee, Biden DOJ nominee Gupta. I like that name. Owns millions in stock of company accused of fueling Mexican cartels' heroin production. He can't have that, right? Oh, but I do, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, but I do. I should have the say it ain't so Joe thing up, I guess. When he was running for office, President Biden's campaign vowed to hold companies accountable for their roles in the opioid crisis, but now one of his Justice Department nominees is linked to a firm whose product was reportedly sold to Mexican drug cartels. And you know when you're selling to a cartel because you're delivering to a factory out in the middle of the Chihuahuan desert. And you're delivering large supplies of things that you think, what would these Mexicans be needing with this? Oh, we continue. There's more. According to August 2020 Bloomberg report, American company Avantor sold acetic anhydride to cartels that used it to make high-grade China white heroin and methamphetamine. Biden's pick for Associate Attorney General Vanita Gupta owns between 11 million and 55 million in the company's stock, according to her financial disclosure form, as reported by ABC News. First of all, between 11 and 55 million, that's her financial statement. There's 44 million unaccounted for. She doesn't even know how much stock she has. It could be 11, could be 55. Obviously, she is in a different tax bracket than most of the U.S. I mean, aren't you glad they didn't nominate her for the Office of Management and Budget? Can you imagine going into the IRS? Oh, it's between 11 and 55. I don't know, somewhere around there. If Trump had pulled that on anything, they'd be saying, oh, that's because 44 million of it came from Russia and he's hiding it. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I know not everybody knows what the companies they invest in are up to. They should. They should. You should know. But if you've got 11 to 55 million in a company, you probably know. But she will probably be confirmed because some of the senators are probably glad for the tip. Who knows? It's a mixed up, jumbled up world, isn't it? According to Lola. H.R. 1 voting expansion bill written in hell by the devil himself, says Mike Lee. I wish he would tell us how he feels, right? Because this whole regime is led by the hand of Satan anyway. Yes, I said it. I probably should have said it earlier. Yeah, I mean, come on. And of course, he claims it's unconstitutional, but this is where we probably lose the filibuster because they want this, because this guarantees that every seat will be a Democratic seat in the country. And somebody says, oh, that's good. Yeah, wait and see, because once there's no check, they can pull off the gloves, baby. But, you know, people don't care. You're getting your $1,400, and if you're a low-income family, starting in June, you get $300 per child, thereabout. So, I mean, good grief. What does it matter? As long as they pay us off, eventually the payoffs stop. Ask Venezuela. They can't just keep doing $2 trillion bills. $3 trillion. It doesn't work that way. House has been busy. PRO-Act, called most important labor legislation in several generations, passes House. The U.S. House of Representatives on Tuesday passed the PRO-Act, which supporters call the most significant labor legislation in decades, and opponents characterize as a gift to unions at the expense of workers. Why in this day and age do we have to pass laws to protect unions? And I realize there's some people that they do quite well with unions, but most people, they don't make that much money with unions. And then you have to pay the dues, and they use the dues however they want. The only reason the Democrats do this is because the dues go to them and support their candidates and everything else. This is horrible. But they don't care about you. I keep telling you that. They don't care about, certainly don't care about me. They don't care about you. They don't care about anybody but themselves. Gonna switch to the border. I just remembered today the old Taco Bell commercials, run to the border, and need to find that. Congressman Jody Arrington stating, my former congressman, Abilene and Lubbock district, a heavily gerrymandered district, but it does work. An American citizen returning from a trip abroad faces stricter requirements for re-entry than illegal immigrants crossing our border. Biden has a free-for-all policy for illegals, but continues to impose restrictions on Americans. Let that sink in. As we pause to let that sink in. Did it sink in? Yes, that's the way it is. It's the way it works. If you leave the country, you better have your your passport when you come back. Unless you want to pay a coyote to bring you across. I don't know. I got big again. Let's do this. CBP shuts down highway checkpoints as overwhelmed agency struggles to handle border surge, but not a border crisis. What are these checkpoints? If you ever driven from Texas through New Mexico all the way through Arizona, there will be these look like toll booths, but you drive through it and it's some members of the CBP, and they're looking in your car, and they may inspect your car, and if you're Hispanic, they may look for identification. If you're white, they may make you talk to make sure you're not wearing pale makeup, and they're looking for smugglers, illegals, contraband, and all of that. But now you can just drive through in Arizona because 3 of them are closed because they need more people down on the border. And so I'm telling you, the drug cartels are loving this. Oh, they're loving this. This is, now they don't have to find back roads. Just zoom on through. Get those drugs to you that Gupta is making money off of a lot quicker. Yeah, that's not nice. I know, and she shouldn't be doing that, should she? ICE arrests plummet in February as Biden administration tightens rules. Not on illegals, but on ICE. And of course, we showed you yesterday that many states are starting to sue because they don't like these people in their communities. What else do we have? DHS won't test thousands of migrants before releasing into U.S. and is relying on border communities, which don't have the money. You know, we showed you the mayor from Harlingen's statements yesterday, which, say, hey, we can't do this. But no, they're doing it. Of course, they say we're not releasing anybody. Everybody's being sent back. But that's not true. And then they're letting through, over 25,000 asylum seekers. They lie, ladies and gentlemen. I know that's a shock. Oh, every administration lies. These people lie about lying. I mean, it's not just their job, it's their hobby, it's their whole life. Color-coded passage, why smugglers are tagging U.S.-bound migrants with wristbands. You know, if you go to a resort or entertainment place, sometimes they give you a wristband so they can just look and say, oh yeah, they belong here. Well, they're doing that to these migrants, especially coming from Central America, but all over. And you pay the person. Which, how do these people come up with anywhere from $500 to $10,000 to get across, to get smuggled through? How do they come up with that? These are poor people. 57% didn't even finish high school. These are very poor people, and yet they have this money to be smuggled up here. Somebody's paying, ladies and gentlemen. It was shown before. The last migrant caravans that President Trump shut down. Well, they put a wristband on you, a bracelet, because you have to pass through cartel land. And if you are not paying to cross, you can be killed. So they actually have cartel members at the bus station. And when the bus door opens, they are checking your wrist to see if you have the right bracelet on. That says they double check it. And then that gets you safe passage across into the U.S. And if not, you get killed. You have to pay off the cartel. I mean, this is nuts. And they find these bracelets on people, but also just hundreds of them scattered along the river and everything, the Rio Grande. It's a business. And the U.S. is part of it. Don't think it is not. All right. But you may ask yourself, who's in charge of this?
The subject of today's briefing, immigration and border policy, it covers so many different agencies. There's Homeland Security, there's HHS, as we've discussed, there's State Department, Department of Justice, which we don't talk about as much, as a huge piece of this. Is there someone in this administration who is coordinating all of these disparate pieces? Ultimately, where does the buck stop? Who is making sure that all these different agencies are coordinating to the administration's overall goals?
Well, ultimately, the president is responsible for the policy and key issues and key challenges the country is facing, and immigration is certainly one of them. You're right.
You are right. The president is responsible, ladies and gentlemen. Another one of his many foci. And he's the one. He got a briefing just this morning from the commission he sent down to the border that you can't send any press to see, He's in charge, so put the blame on him. Put the blame on him, and we do. We do. All right, we have a few. This is from yesterday, I believe, I hope.
Go ahead.
On follow-up on that, Jen, thanks. There are reports out there that the number of unaccompanied migrants detained at the border has tripled in the last 2 weeks to 3,200 plus. Is that number accurate?
I'm not going to confirm numbers from here. Obviously, the Department of Homeland Security and others oversee the programs and the engagements that happen at the border. I will say that there are a couple of reasons. I know Amr asked about our kind of change in policy, but there are a couple of reasons why we think people are coming to the border. Of course, individuals are fleeing countries where individuals and families are they're fleeing prosecution, fleeing violence, fleeing economic hardships and other things. The region has also experienced 2 hurricanes in the fall, putting further stress on the conditions in these countries and the circumstances that are facing individuals. And all of this is taking place during a global pandemic that has impacted other countries' economies, placing undue hardships on its people, just as it did in the United States. So there are also a range of factors that are leading individuals to come to the border.
Why won't you confirm that number? That's a very important number.
We've been very clear that there is an increase, that there are more children coming across the border than we have facilities for at this point in time. Those numbers are tracked by the Department of Homeland Security, so I'm just suggesting that you talk to them about specifics.
Well, we talked to them, Jen. They won't confirm the numbers.
Well, I would encourage you to go back to them and ask them again. We're not going to confirm them from the White House. It's not our program. It's the Department of Homeland Security.
Is the White House encouraging the department to release those numbers? And in the spirit of transparency that the Secretary promised here at this podium?
We certainly encourage transparency, but what I also think is important is to talk about what the root causes are here and what we're doing from a policy standpoint to try to address the challenges that we're facing and that these kids are facing as they come across the border.
And on COVID relief, should we expect to see the president?
Now, the president is in charge. We learned that today, but he can't tell his own Department of Homeland Security, tell them the number, because nobody wants to say the number. And you know what Jen was thinking? I'm sorry. All right, where else are we? We lost our place because the host is playing around. All right, so that was the numbers one. Look at this. Look at this. Mexican government fears Biden admin policies fueling illegal immigration, organized crime report. The Mexican government doesn't like the Biden administration policies. When has the Mexican government ever complained that our border was too open? That should bother you. The Mexican government thinks our border is too open. Why? Because they know the cartels are going crazy. And you notice all the reporters in the White House press room have on colored bracelets. Maybe they are being smuggled into the country. I don't know. I don't know. At this stage, anything is possible. But look what else, more encouraging news. U.S. prosecutors allege Honduras president helped move drugs. Not just helped, encouraged it, planned it, wanted to flood us with cocaine and make money off of it. I mean, this is like Nicaragua back in the old days. Colombia. I mean, good grief. What's that movie we like? About the Colombian cartel and the guy up here fighting it off. What's that called? My wife? Sicario. Yeah, this is Sicario going on. We need some help. And this is who we're dealing with, saying, don't send these people. We have to, Mr. President. They're smuggling our drugs. How are we going to get all this cocaine in if these people aren't allowed to move across the border? I sense a problem here. Hunter's involved in this. Oh, well, come on. Yeah. I'm kidding. I don't know if Hunter is. I'm just throwing that out there. It was wrong. Forgive me. And probably not an Honduran accent. I don't know. It sounded more like an old Speedy Gonzalez or Cheech or Chong or one of them. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best here. All right. Which one is this? Let me see. Oh, yeah. And you know what? I completely forgot this lady's name. She is very important. I think her last name is Taylor. She is a big player in all of the border stuff and dealing with the Southern Hemisphere. She's the overall ambassador to the Southern Hemisphere, something like that. She was in the briefing room today, and she talked a lot, and we don't have much of her on today. We may work that in throughout the rest of the week. But she had this to say about the problems with corrupt officials.
On Honduras, how does the administration balance its need for cooperation from that government with ongoing concerns about corruption there, particularly federal prosecutors who say that the President Hernandez was working on his plan to flood the United States with cocaine?
Well, I think one of the things that I made clear in the opening comments, which I want to reiterate, is that none of the money that we're looking to get from Congress, from the taxpayers of the United States, goes to government leaders. And so I don't think that means that presidents are unimportant in these countries, but I do think that it's important to understand that we will be working with civil society, with international organizations and international NGOs on the ground. We will work with officials that we can work with, but we also think it's really important that these countries make commitments, really explicit commitments, to advancing on anti-corruption. And in some places that will be hard to do if you've got officials for whom there is a cloud. And I think we need to work with the organizations that we can in countries. In some places, we will work with religious organizations, NGOs, with et cetera. It's a challenge in countries that have confronted serious corruption.
You know, we don't send that money directly to those presidents. What does that have to do with anything? He doesn't need money. He's got a thriving cocaine business going. How do you work with them? You know what? We're not bringing any Hondurans in anymore because the whole country's awash in cocaine. I'm surprised the Mexican drug cartels are letting them come. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, it just keeps getting worse. How do you deal with Mr. Cocaine as a Honduran president? Oh, the way Donald Trump does. No more money. No more money. We're stopping this, bud. All right. We're going to get now into the messaging problem that all the reporters seem to think that the administration has. All right. Let's take it away.
You've been telling migrants from right there for a month now, all the way back to February 10th, that now is not the time to come, but they are coming in bigger numbers every day. So do you have a messaging problem?
Well, I would say that in the last administration, we had a morality problem, and children were being pulled from the arms of their parents, and kids were being sent back on a treacherous journey, and that's not the approach of this administration. So certainly we understand that means there will be more kids who are crossing the border. We made a policy decision that was the right, humane step to take. But I think it's also important for people to understand that the vast majority of people who come to our border are turned away, are sent back to their countries. What we're talking about here is unaccompanied children, and what our focus is on is ensuring that there are safe places for these kids to go that have access, where they have access to educational resources, health and medical attention, legal assistance as needed, and that we can expedite the vetting so that they can get to families and sponsors where they can have their cases adjudicated.
But since the last administration...
No, we don't have a messaging problem. We had a morality problem. You know, you just think after a while they would catch on, but no, because they want people to come. I keep doing that wrong. I'm sorry.
The last administration is gone. Tomorrow is 50 days of Biden. There are migrants showing up wearing T-shirts that say, "Biden, please let us in." And candidate Biden is the one who said, "I would end this notion for the first time in history that people seeking asylum have to be in squalor on the other side of the river." Why doesn't he come out and just say, now is not the time?
Well, he actually did an interview with Univision about a week and a half ago where he conveyed a similar message, and we've conveyed that at every opportunity that we have. I will say we are, as you noted, almost 50 days in. We are digging ourselves out of a broken and dismantled system. Roberta Messer-Jacobson referenced this in her opening as well. When it comes to engagement with countries addressing the root causes, we couldn't start doing that until January 20th. There are programs like the relaunching of the Central American Minors Program, which was ended by the prior administration in 2017, and that meant that that program, which would have allowed for people to apply from the region, we had to restart that program. So So we're working to fix the mess of the last couple of years. It's going to take some time, but this is clearly a priority for the president. We're looking at a range of options, which include the opening of additional facilities. It includes steps we can take to expedite the processing. It includes application and implementation of these CDC guidelines that just came out that allow for more children to be housed safely in these facilities. So we're looking at every option possible to help address the challenges we're facing at the border.
But it's not a messaging problem. They're showing up on the border with t-shirts saying, Biden, let me in, as we showed you the other day. Let me in. And no one's saying, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Little nursery rhyme there for you. No, it is a messaging problem, but they want this message because they always say, wait till it's safe. We want the minors program back, which I told you, where they get kids and they bus them in. It's not about coming into the country. It's about the safety of it and the rush at the border with these people. And see, the reporters don't get it. They want them here. They need them here. They've got to have them. I mean, they're telling everybody, oh, you're going to get citizenship and everything else. Why aren't they going to come? Well, we have maybe a slip, maybe not. And, of course, I remember that lady's name now, Roberta Jacobson.
That,
sure.
And I think you may have gotten a note about this, that the first time she said that the border is not closed, and she then, when she was speaking in Spanish, and then, later on spoke in Spanish again and said the border is closed. I mean, it seems like she, I guess, misspoke the first time considering your overall message, but are you concerned that now that she's misspoken, that is going to be, picked up and disseminated across the Spanish-speaking world as the message from the administration?
Well, given she also said that the border is closed, we're hopeful that that is what will be picked up, and that has clearly and consistently been our message. So that is certainly our hope.
Still, at the same time that you're having a messaging difficulty around this issue, does that just make it a little bit harder?
We certainly hope not. We have the power of the media here to make sure you're communicating effectively with the messages. And as we know, we all have moments where we say something slightly differently than we would like to. And
all right, enough of her for the day. Maybe. Do we have one more? Might have. Anyway, this is what the reporter is talking about. Ms. Jacobson said and I'm going to be fair here, she said before she spoke Spanish that in English, the border is not open. It is closed. But when she is speaking Spanish, I thought she could be saying anything she wants. Most of us wouldn't know. Well, let's see here what she said through the magic of instant replay.
Así que yo creo que es muy importante subrayar el caso que la frontera no está cerrada y el viaje es muy peligroso y la gente realmente no debían llegar a los Estados Unidos en una manera irregular ahora.
You're telling them not to come.
Yes, she said it in English, a few more words, and then repeated it in Spanish, but not quite. You say, well, I don't know. I'm taking their word for it. Well, with the help of Apple Translate, I know exactly what she said. All right, there it is in Spanish for those of you who want it done correctly. There's the Spanish, and here is the English translation. So I think it is very important to underline the case that the border is not closed and the trip very dangerous, and people really should not arrive in the United States in an irregular way now. See, it's not don't come. And you know they're going to play that clip all over. And I'm telling you, they want them to come. I don't think it was that big of a slip. I mean, she said it, glossed, oh no, let me say it like this, but she never said, oh no, I said wrong. And maybe I'm just going off because I'm a horrible person. You just gotta wonder. They do have a messaging program, but they won't admit it. Why? Because they want people to come. Why don't they just say, yes, we do, and we are stopping it. We're not going to tell people, wait in hope, or we're going to reunite with you with your children, maybe here in this country if you want it. Oh, we have a path to citizenship. We're doing everything we can to legally get you here, but please wait. See, if you don't want them to come, you don't talk like that. What do I know? I'm just me. This kind of sums it up, I thought, and then we're almost through for the day.
I understand you don't want to call it a crisis from the podium, but what do you say to Border Patrol agents at the border, especially those within the union, who are calling it a crisis and who are saying that they're overworked and there's just too many encounters day in and day out?
We are saying that we recognize that incumbent upon us and this administration is to continue to work day and night to expedite the process of ensuring there are the resources and processes in place to move children from the Border Patrol facilities to the shelters. We are saying that it is incumbent upon our administration to look for additional facilities that can safely house children, and incumbent upon us to ensure that we are communicating effectively and efficiently to the region, as Ambassador Jacobson talked about at the top of this briefing. And those are all focuses of the president on down, every single day.
The Mexican government.
What? What? See, Biden's focused. He's focused. He's got the focus going. Sounds like a Seinfeld bit. We're going to quickly go through some God formation because we're just really getting backed up on things because there's so much. It keeps increasing every day. It's almost too much for the poor news people to keep up with. I thought I said go away. All right, just quickly, just have a couple of items. There are senators that are ready to vote for removal of their friend if he will not do as they want. Number one, they want the filibuster gone. So Chuck Schumer is ready to say, Biden's just changed so much since the campaign and he can't handle the strain. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, and he is confused by their treachery and by the very games he would play if he was still a senator. But he's reaping so much of what he's already sown. Besides, it's not good for the wicked to prosper. And they call him out to his face. He fights back, but he doesn't have very much ammunition. His temper's not helping him here. And as far as his people, there is so much overlapping work to report. What is the point? What's the point of all the commissions and everything else? The people just bog down. There's so much. We're overlapping everything. There's this report, this review, that review. They're going crazy. The reason is to hide the real agenda in the process. Because you can't figure anything out. You got to go through all these reports, all these commissions. Because it's a whole of government approach. You have to go to this department to get that part and this because it's the whole of government. See, they set it up like this on purpose. You can't figure what they're really doing out. It's just crazy. Actually, it's quite brilliant, but it's driving their people crazy. So it's to cover up the real priorities and the real work. To put through regulations that are unseen by the people, meaning you and I, until they come to light, to put through regulations to move without being noticed, because you're just going from one commission to another. Always watch Susan Rice, ladies and gentlemen. Where is she? What is her work? We need to know because she's the one. She's the one driving all of this. It's all miscommunication. It's all deflection. It's all sleight of hand, but it's driving the staffers crazy because it's just too much, and that's it for us. We've got too much today. God bless you. We will see you tomorrow. Come on, help me out here on Countdown to Restoration. Okay, come on.